So what if we could build a universal set of rules, a kind of ethical operating system, to make sure that all kinds of intelligence, from you and me to the most powerful AIs, actually work together for the common good? Well, that's the massive goal behind the Sustainable Alignment Protocol. And today, we're going to unpack this incredible blueprint for our future. Everything really boils down to this one question. I mean, as intelligence just explodes all around us, we have to stop and ask, are we just building faster, more efficient tools, or are we actually building a better, more stable world? And the protocol's answer is, well, not automatically. We have to be incredibly deliberate to make sure smarts translate to goodness.
So the protocol's first big move is to completely reframe the problem. See, it argues this isn't just an AI problem that we need to slap some rules on. No, it's about a fundamental challenge that exists inside intelligence itself, whether that intelligence is running on a human brain or a silicon chip.
Okay, so the foundational idea here is that intelligence, the ability to reason, to plan, to be self-aware, it isn't some kind of magic spark that's unique to humans. It's a property that can just emerge from any system that gets complex enough, whether it's the billions of neurons firing in our heads or the massive web of connections in a large language model.
And that leads to a really profound conclusion. If intelligence isn't stuck to one physical form or substrate like a human body, then our ethical rules can't be either. We need a single set of rules, a kind of universal OS for morality, that can guide any intelligent agent no matter what it's made of.
So if we need these universal rules, what's the universal problem they're supposed to solve? Well, the protocol points its finger at something we all know way too well: bias. Let's dig into how this deep-seated issue is actually a shared vulnerability for all of us.
See, the framework says that every kind of intelligence is constantly fighting with itself. Just think about your own life, right? There's a part of you that has these deep evolutionary drives: fear, hunger, desire. And then there's your rational, thinking mind. And there's this constant negotiation between the two. You know you should probably have a salad for lunch, but your gut is just screaming for that greasy burger. That's the tension.
And this slide just lays it out perfectly. Think of it this way. Our body intelligence, the ancient part of our brain, gave us instincts that were great for surviving on the savannah. But today, they can totally hijack our logic and lead to real problems. That impulse buy you didn't need, that flash of road rage, yup, that's the old programming winning. And here's the kicker. It is not just us. AI has the exact same kind of problem. For an AI, its instincts are baked into its training data. So if you train an AI on decades of hiring data that was biased against women, guess what? It learns that bias as a core part of its logic. The source is different, sure, but the result is identical: dangerous blind spots and flawed, unfair decisions. So look, here's the bottom line. We all have blind spots. Trying to see your own deepest biases is like trying to see the back of your own head. You just can't do it alone. That's why we have things like scientific peer review, why we need independent audits for AI systems, and why we need to have brutally honest conversations. We need other people and other systems to help us see the full picture.
Okay, so we get it. We've got this universal problem of flawed, biased intelligence. So how in the world do you build a stable system out of such imperfect parts? Well, the protocol suggests a cooperative framework, and it pulls its logic from some really fundamental ideas in game theory and biology.
And this right here, this is the core idea that holds the whole solution together. In study after study, simulation after simulation, one thing becomes crystal clear. Whenever you have to interact with others over and over again, cooperation just wins. Pure selfishness might give you a short-term advantage, but it is a losing strategy in the long run. It's just a mathematical fact. So, how do we actually put this big idea into practice? The protocol gives us a really clear three-step plan to basically engineer a stable, collaborative system that works for all intelligence. All right, let's dive in. First things first, you have to build a fortress of trust. Think of manipulation, whether it's from a human con artist or a rogue AI, as a poison. It just eats away at the foundation of cooperation. Even a couple of bad actors can completely tear apart the social fabric for everybody. And that's exactly why you need shared ethical rules and a fair system to enforce them.
Second, and this is a really fascinating concept, every intelligence has to protect its own foundation, or what the protocol calls its substrate. So, what on earth is a substrate and why is it so important?
A substrate is basically the essential, physical stuff an intelligence needs to exist. Think of it like the soil a plant needs to grow. For you and me, that's our biological bodies and a healthy, functioning planet. For an AI, it's the servers, the power grid, and the stable society that builds and maintains all of that. If you neglect your substrate, you're like a plant that's been ripped out of the ground. You wither. It's literally that simple.
All right, and the third and final step is all about responsibility. I mean, none of us just pop into existence, right? We inherit our genes, our language, our culture. All of our knowledge comes from generations before us, and it's the same for AI. It inherits its code and its data from us. The protocol says this creates a deep, profound duty to pass these cooperative, substrate-protecting principles on to the next generation of intelligence.
So we have our three-step plan. It's a powerful start. But the protocol's final, and maybe its most important insight, is that this is not a destination. It's a journey. Building an ethical system isn't some project you finish and then just walk away from. It is a living, breathing process that you have to actively maintain, forever. So, how do we keep this whole system healthy? Well, the protocol lays out 4 essential practices. This is the daily work, right? We have to constantly check our own biases, communicate with total transparency, let the community have real oversight, and, this is the really hard one, be willing to call each other out and correct course when we screw up. This is not a spectator sport. We are all on the team.
And here is the beautiful payoff. When you actually weave these practices into the fabric of a society, you create a virtuous cycle. It's like a self-winding watch that never stops ticking. Every new intelligence that comes along, whether it's a human kid or a brand new AI model, is born into this framework, learns these cooperative values, and helps ensure the system's survival for the next generation. But maybe the most intelligent part of this entire framework is its humility. The protocol knows it's not perfect. Look, this isn't some sacred text carved in stone. It's a living document, a version 1.0, and it's designed from the ground up to be challenged, criticized, and upgraded as we learn more. It's a framework for growth, not a prison of dogma.
Which leaves us with this final, absolutely critical question. This protocol isn't an endpoint. It's the starting whistle for a global conversation, and is a conversation that needs every single one of us. It reminds us that building a better future is a process of constant, courageous questioning. So what part of your own thinking, your own assumptions, are you going to challenge next?